Welcome back, everyone, to The Quantum Thread, Weaving the Future of the Internet, the podcast that bridges the spaces between big ideas. Today, we're tackling something that sounds almost philosophical, but has enormous practical implications for businesses and individuals. The idea that we don't know what we don't know. Paul, John, thanks for joining me.
Glad to be here, Susan. It's a fantastic topic because it really hits on one of the biggest frustrations in any organization, trying to find that one piece of information that you don't even know exists, let alone where to look for it.
Exactly. We spend so much time building up these incredible data systems, lakes, warehouses, but then people still struggle. It's like having a library with millions of books, but no Dewey Decimal System, and half the books aren't even cataloged because they're just notes scribbled on napkins in people's desks.
That's such a great analogy, John. So we're talking about this knowledge gap, right? This distinction between explicit knowledge, the stuff that's written down, documented, and tacit knowledge, which is in people's heads, their experience, their intuition.
Absolutely. Explicit knowledge is what most of our current systems are designed to capture. Think databases, CRM records, official reports. But that tacit knowledge, that's where the real organizational wisdom often lies. It's how we do things around here, or who knows about X, or that one time we solved Y by doing Z. It's incredibly valuable, but almost impossible to formalize and store traditionally.
And it's a huge problem for culture, too. When people leave a company, a vast amount of that tacit knowledge walks right out the door with them. It's not just a loss of personnel, it's a loss of institutional memory, of problem-solving shortcuts, of relationships. And it impacts onboarding new staff. They're constantly reinventing the wheel.
So, if our current systems, these massive data lakes and even early AI applications, aren't solving this unknown unknowns problem, what are they missing?
Well, traditional data systems, they're great at storing data, but they struggle with context. They don't understand the relationships between different pieces of information, or why someone might be looking for it. They're like a giant filing cabinet, but you still need to know exactly which folder to open. And AI, while incredibly powerful, often just amplifies these problems if the underlying data is siloed or lacks context. It can process what it's fed, but it can't create meaning out of disconnected fragments or infer intent that isn't explicitly provided.
And let's not forget the human element. Data silos aren't just technical, they're often organizational. Different departments, different teams, they guard their knowledge, sometimes intentionally, sometimes just because they don't have an easy way to share it. There's also human bias in what gets documented and how. So the picture you get from just analyzing data can be incomplete or skewed.
It sounds like we need a way to connect not just the data, but also the people and their experiences. The document we're looking at today really emphasizes culture meets innovation. What does that mean in this context?
For me, it means creating an environment where sharing knowledge isn't a chore. It's natural, it's incentivized, and it's built into the workflow. Innovation thrives when ideas can flow freely. If people have to jump through hoops to find information or feel like they're giving up their competitive edge by sharing, that kills innovation. We need technology that supports and amplifies human connection, not replaces it.
Exactly. From a technical perspective, it points to moving away from centralized, top-down control of information. We need data that's decentralized and democratized. That means making knowledge accessible to those who need it, when they need it, regardless of where it originates in the organization. It's about empowering everyone to be both a consumer and a contributor of knowledge.
Decentralized and democratized. That sounds like a significant shift from how many organizations currently operate. How does one even begin to build a system that supports that kind of dynamic, especially when you're trying to surface those unknown unknowns?
That's where the concept of knowledge as a service, or KaaS, comes in. We're talking about a platform that doesn't just store data, but actively works to connect disparate pieces of information, understand their context, and most importantly, understand the user's intent. It's like having a hyper-intelligent guide through your organizational knowledge.
And the service part is key. It's not just a repository you dump stuff into. It's actively serving up insights, connecting you to experts, and helping you build a more complete picture. It should feel less like a search engine and more like a collaborative brain.
Okay, so this sounds like a pretty advanced solution. The document introduces something called Vogon, Is this the answer to all these challenges?
Vogon is absolutely designed to address these very challenges. It's built on the principle of KaaS. Imagine a system that uses AI not just to find keywords, but to understand the semantic relationships between all your organization's data: structured, unstructured, internal documents, external feeds, even conversations. It creates what they call a knowledge mesh or semantic graph, linking everything together.
And importantly, it's human-centric AI. It learns from how people interact with information, who connects with whom, what questions are being asked, and what answers are proving useful. This helps it surface that critical tacit knowledge. It's not just about indexing documents. It's about indexing the relationships between information and the people who hold it.
So, it's not just about getting an answer, but understanding the why behind the question, and maybe even connecting you to the person who can provide the deepest insights? That sounds revolutionary for preventing knowledge loss.
Exactly. Think about an experienced employee who's about to retire. Instead of trying to force them to document everything, Vogon can observe their interactions, connections, and the knowledge they consistently apply. It can then help identify and preserve that wisdom in a much more organic way, making it accessible to others without them having to formally train the system.
And because it's decentralized and democratized, it encourages people to contribute. The more people use it and contribute, the richer and more accurate the knowledge mesh becomes. It's a self-improving system that leverages the collective intelligence of the entire organization. It's also designed to be secure, with knowledge ownership and access control built in, which is crucial for sensitive information.
So, Vogon aims to reduce the time spent searching for information, improve decision-making, and ensure valuable insights aren't lost. But how does it actually surface those unknown unknowns? That's still the core challenge, right?
It does this through its contextual understanding. When you search for something, Vogon doesn't just give you a list of documents with keywords. It understands your role, your current project, who you've collaborated with, and what other related information you've accessed. Then it can suggest relevant knowledge and even relevant experts that you didn't even know to look for because it sees the semantic connections. It's like having a colleague who knows all the obscure connections and whispers, "Hey, you might also be interested in this."
It's about proactive intelligence. Instead of waiting for you to type in the exact right query, it anticipates what you might need based on your situation. And by incentivizing knowledge sharing, it helps fill those gaps naturally. When someone contributes, they get recognition, and their expertise is highlighted, encouraging a virtuous cycle of knowledge flow.
That's fascinating. So, it builds a collective IQ for the organization. Can you give me a hypothetical example of how Vogon might play out in a real-world scenario?
Sure. Imagine a sales rep working on a new client pitch. They're looking for information on a particular industry challenge. With Vogon, they don't just get a list of product specs. The system might connect them to a discussion thread from 6 months ago, where an engineer discussed a similar problem, a case study from a different department about an unexpected solution they found, and even highlight a retired employee who was the leading expert on that specific technology 10 years ago, whose insights were captured by the system. It presents a holistic picture, not just isolated data points.
And the beauty is, it doesn't require the sales rep to know all those connections beforehand. They just ask their initial question, and Vogon's semantic graph and AI do the heavy lifting of connecting the dots across the entire organizational knowledge base, including that tacit knowledge that's usually invisible.
That really does sound like a game changer. It moves beyond just information retrieval to genuine knowledge discovery. So, looking ahead, what's the biggest impact you see Vogon having on organizations that adopt this kind of knowledge as a services approach?
Honestly, I think it dramatically flattens the learning curve for new employees and empowers everyone. You're no longer dependent on who you know or how good your search terms are. You're connected to the entire collective intelligence of your organization. That fosters a culture of continuous learning and collaboration, making the organization much more adaptable and innovative.
From a technical standpoint, it transforms data from being a static asset into a dynamic, living resource. It maximizes the return on investment in all the information an organization generates. No more reinventing the wheel, no more costly decisions made due to incomplete information. It leverages AI in a way that truly augments human intelligence, rather than just automating tasks.
It's clear that addressing the "we don't know what we don't know" problem is more than just a technical fix. It's a fundamental shift in how organizations value and manage their most precious asset, knowledge. Paul, John, this has been an incredibly insightful discussion. Thank you both for shedding light on Vogon and the future of knowledge management.
My pleasure, Susan. It's an exciting area, and Vogon seems to be hitting all the right notes.
Thanks for having us. Hopefully our listeners now have a clearer picture of how to conquer those unknown.
And to our listeners, if you've ever struggled to find that crucial piece of information or felt the pain of losing a valuable team member and their expertise, hopefully this conversation has given you some food for thought. We'll catch you next time on The Quantum Thread, weaving the future of the Internet.